Well, welcome back to the second part of the theory of production. Here we're going to talk about the different stages of production. Every company goes through three stages of production for labor. Please highlight that in your notes. The marginal product curve is divided into three stages of production. The first stage of production goes from the origin to the point where the APL is maximum. That is the point of intersection of those two curves in panel B. The second stage of production goes from where the APL is maximum down to where the marginal product of labor curve is 0. And the third stage of production is where the marginal product of labor curve is negative. So let's go take a look at those graphs for a moment. So here we So if we're taking a look at these graphs here, the first stage of production goes from the origin 0, to where the APL is at its maximum, and it's at a maximum at 2.5 employees. That's the end of stage one. Stage one, every company wants to go through stage one as quickly as possible. They do not want to stay there because if they add more labor, they're going to get a greater amount of output. Stage two is from where the APL is maximum down to where the marginal product of labor is equal to 0, and that here is at 5.5 employees. So stage two is a subset of the law of diminishing returns. And stage three, and this is where the companies want to work in stage two, ideally at 5.5 employees. Stage three goes from where the marginal product of the labor curve is 0, and the marginal product curve then tends to go negative. So in the area where the marginal product curve is negative, no company wants to work in stage three. If they think they're in stage three, they sometimes will call a consultant in to do a rationalization program. And as you see, if they reduce the number of employees that they have, their total output increases. And it's a maximum, the total output is maximum where the marginal product curve is equal to 0 at that point of intersection. So now we go on. So on your graphs, well, we've already done that. On the graphs indicate the three different stages of production and where will the rational operator, where will the producer operate and why. Well, here are the answers to those questions. The producer will not operate in stage three, even with free labor, because it would be possible to increase total output by using less labor on 1 acre of land. The producer will not operate in stage one because he or she can increase output by increasing labor. So this only leaves stage two as the only stage of production for the rational producer. Please note that in stage two, the average product of labor and the marginal product of labor are both positive but declining. Remember, the total product curve is increasing at a decreasing rate. Please highlight what's in red. Thus, the rational producer operates in the range of diminishing returns within stage two, ideally again at 5.5 employees. And here comes one of the most important aspects of microeconomics, the principle of substitution. And it says something like, if capital is cheap relative to labor, and the two are substitutable, the firm will tend to use more capital and less labor. An example of that could be the following two. When I moved to Kitchener, the downtown city hall had a parking attendant there. You drive down, he'd give you a ticket, and when you left, you gave back the ticket, and the calculation was done, and the bill was presented, and you paid, and then you left. Today, when you go to City Hall, the parking attendant has been substituted by a computer. You press the button, you get your chit, and then when you leave, you put the chip back into the machine, and the machine will tell you how much you pay. You put in your credit card or your debit card, and then the gate goes up and you leave. That's the principle of substitution. Another example of the principle of substitution where technology is cheaper than labor could be the 407 highway. When you are driving on the 407 highway, there is a computer there that takes the picture of your license plate. The computer then will read the information. The computer will put together the bill, and it gets mailed to you. There's no human work there, or very little human work. A third example is some of my clients have used technology to replace people. So one of my clients, an automotive company, used to have 5 CPAs on staff and about 55 accounting clerks. They implemented SAP, which is a very, very powerful accounting package, and today they have 1 CPA and 5 accounting clerks. So the rest of those positions that I mentioned in the beginning have been all substituted, eliminated by technology. Not only did it eliminate positions within the accounting department, but it also eliminated positions out in the factory, people doing inventory control. Those positions were now replaced by this massive, strong computer package called SAP. But if labor is cheap relative to capital, then the firm will tend to use more labor and less capital. An example of that could be if you're driving from Kitchener to, let's say, Rochester, New York, and you hit the United States, and you're driving on the interstate highway between Buffalo and Rochester, you will notice that there are attendants on the interstate that will collect money. We don't have that on the 407. So in the state of New York, labor is cheaper than capital. Therefore, the interstate is staffed by attendants who ensure that you pay the dues that are required every so many kilometers. So this tendency for a firm to substitute cheap factor for a more expensive factor is known as the principle of substitution. So the cheap factor will replace the more expensive factor, given that the quality and quantity are the same. Or maybe the new way of doing it, the quality is better. So the principle of substitution, to highlight once again, if 2 factors of production are substitutable and the price of one rises relative to the price of the other, the firm will tend to use a less of the more expensive factor, substituting the less expensive factor for it. That's the end of the theory of production. Once again, this is in your textbook. Here's your textbook again, and it is in chapter 9 along with the cost of production. The cost of production will be the next series of videos that go up, and then we will have finished chapter number 9. Stay healthy, folks. Good night.